Hello, Dooffiend here, coming to you from the skies above Las Vegas, Nevada, in what is quite clearly an F-16. Getting set up to do a run on some trucks, and I wanted to show you some of the high-tech wizardry that goes into the F-16. Let me just pull up my armaments page on my MFD here. That is my bomb and rocket computer, a clockwork marvel from the late 1930s. I have it set up there. That left knob turns it on and off. That's my master arm, and then I just select the number from the pylon that I want to use, and I'm all ready to go. So here are my trucks up here. I'm going to launch off some rockets and see if I can get any hits. Here we go. Fire rifle. There we go. Ooh, okay, got a minor hit there. Jokes aside, here I am in the Mi-8, getting ready to drop some bombs on that same formation of trucks in the same desert. Get arm button here while my arm switches on there. Master arm on. That's easier to use from range. Selector 2, bombs armed, and then I go down to my high-tech bomb computer. Switch it to the right, arm it, and then select the bomb pylon that I want to use. Now, why I made that stupid joke is because the I-16 has more or less functionally this same clockwork mechanical craptastic 1939 bomb computer. I'll see this in a lot of elements of the Russian tech tree, I guess, if you want to call it that. Is borrowed either from this helicopter or given from this helicopter to other helicopters. There are a lot of similarities, and part of what makes this helicopter unique, things that I wish I knew about this helicopter before I bought it, is that there's a lot of similarities and maybe even better. So here I am dropping the bombs. This is why you don't drop bombs in helicopters, kids. Ooh. Got a couple of them. Let's do an assessment here. It's like 3, 4, 5, and some houses. Anyway, yeah, let's don't be like me, kids. So what is it important to know about the Mi-8? Well, primarily it's a utility helicopter, so it means hauling cargo, troops, and other things around. This one has been outfitted with an outrigger. It's got 3 weapon pylons on each side for bombs, for rocket pods, for gun pods. Yeah, so externally it's got it's a 5-blade helicopter with a 3-blade anti-torque rotor. That top engine port is for the APU, and then the primary engines are just below it. It is covered with an armor / dust cover. It has a, let's see here, that's the Doppler radar there, so that it tells how far it moves in each direction at the speed it moves. That is an IR jammer. I don't think that it works in game. I think it's supposed to work, but it doesn't, for as far as I can tell. That torque knuckle is for the anti-torque rotor. For most of the production life of the Mi-8, it was on the left-hand side, the torque rotor, but then it was upgraded with the engines. And in the Mi-17 spec, the rotor was moved to the left-hand side. Now, the parts bin and the upgrade paths are so muddled now that, yes, the engine upgrades and the torque rotor being on the opposite side, it's really hard to tell what is an Mi-8 versus an Mi-17. Now, Next to it here we have an Mi-24, the Hind. You notice that the torque rotor is on the left hand side. There's more fairing, it's more aerodynamic. But the engine and drivetrain transmission, I guess is the right word, is really similar. It's actually more or less the same thing if you want to consider it to be the same helicopter. So if you recall, that is the Doppler, and that retains the Doppler here on the Mi-24, the Hind. If you see the behind the engine bay, there is a dome for the jammer that's not present. I don't know if we'll get one in the future or not. We've got the flare launcher. We've got a much smaller crew compartment, and we have a twin bubble canopy. Now, why I say that, or why that the two are next to each other here, is because they're very similar in how they were originally built. And if you care to take a look at the Hind A, you'll see that it was originally a 3-seat side-by-side layout. But you'll see here that the profiles of these two helicopters, despite being very similar, are that the Hind is a lean, fast helicopter, and this is a helicopter that is fatter and has been given more cargo room internally. So in the front of the Mi-8 is a 3-crew position, a pilot, co-pilot, and a flight engineer. And in the Hind you have a pilot in the back and a gunner up front. We see here on the side they took out a window on the Mi-8 and put in the flare launcher in its place. See a lot of these little nods to slow upgrades that were carefully are not well integrated. Over here is a Ka-50 Black Shark 2, and what we're seeing here is a very similar flare launcher, not identical, but I believe they both helicopters carry 128 flares. Now, why that is significant, I'd like to show you here in a second. Okay, I've spawned into the Ka-50, and on my upper right hand side is the UV-26 countermeasure launchers. There's UV-26 countermeasure launcher. I can select the launch program and profile. I can select the side of the helicopter I want the flares to launch from, and that button launches flares. To demonstrate that, I'm going to go to an external view. I'm going to launch some flares. Alright, so moving out to the center position, or sorry, to the left position, or sorry, to the center position will launch both sides, and then to the right hand or left hand position will launch just to the left hand side of the helicopter. So why that is significant is because the UV-26 is also found in the Mi-8. It's only here on the co-pilot side, but it has the same interface there for the program, for the sides, and launching flares. You can launch flares from both sides. You can launch it from the left side. And if I so wanted, I can launch it just from the right-hand side. The center seat is for the flight engineer. His primary responsibilities include radios and maintaining the autopilot. Now, why I have brought you, the viewer, to this particular seat is because these symbols in the autopilot you may have seen somewhere else. like maybe up here on the upper right hand overlay here in the Hind. What that is the same autopilot that is in the Mi-8. It is not displayed in the same way, but you'll find some of these other things like the radios, a lot of these other subsystems, all these switches, they all are present in the Mi-8 and do the same job, because they're very much wired the same way through the wiring harness, because it's almost the same helicopter. Like you to see, there's the gun counters; those are present in the Mi-8, and I'd like to bring your attention to the Doppler panel down there on the lower right hand side. As the Doppler system, it moves the moving map around, and it also gives you some positional information based off of that drift gauge. Back in the Mi-8, we have the same Doppler panel and drift gauge. Sadly, we don't get the moving map. Even though these two helicopters are built very similarly, I think that the flight model shows some of the very important differences. Up in the right hand corner, I've got the Hind, and it is flying more like an airplane in that there are significant aerodynamic forces acting on it at speed, keeping it smooth and level and resisting a lot of the minute movements that you see in the Mi-8 down in the lower left hand corner. To me, the Mi-8 feels more like a soap bubble being pushed by a bumblebee, and a lot of little corrections. And this is the way I think a helicopter should fly. I just think that there are fewer aerodynamic forces at work on the hip, and a lot of drag around the body of the hip. With this video focusing on the Mi-8 hip, I think that it's important to show how it stacks up against some of the more similar helicopters. So, in conclusion, I suppose, this helicopter has the ability to load a lot of weapons. It has tons of rockets, tons of gun pods, tons of lifting capability. It's got gunners. It does not yet have multi-crew functionality, which is something that is on my bucket list, is to fly with a couple other good flyers and switch out some of the roles. However, that's not here yet. I do like this helicopter. I do have a little bit of buyer's remorse in that I don't fly it very often. I don't fly it very well. It seems very heavy to me. I get into VRS a lot. I don't control it well. And you'll have to forgive me, but in the middle of shooting this video, my rudder pedals have completely died. So I'm trying to do this with rudder pedals that are flaking out pretty bad. So please excuse the poor flying here. I just wanted a cool video to drone on about how to summarize this helicopter. I would, if I had to, buy it again, I think. It's enjoyable to fly. It fits a weird but unique role in that it has much more payload and the ability to cause pain than something like the UH-1 Huey. It's a very different helicopter, even though it's built very similar to the Hind. It's very different than the Black Shark. I can't fault it. I am the failing part in this particular exchange here. I fail it. I focus more on the Huey side of things. I think that's more my target aircraft, at least in terms of rotary aircraft. But in just what this is capable of, particularly in the right hands, with just how much boom boom that you can spread across the face of the enemy here, and it's got some of the best gunners in the business. It's a good helicopter. I just wish that I had a better idea of what I was purchasing when I purchased it, and I think that's kind of why I am making this video, is to show off some of the things that I wish I knew about the Mi-8 before I bought it. Again, thanks for watching, and feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comments section.